Urza's Destiny, a seminal set, topping off Urza's block with another dose of incredibly powerful cards. As Combo Winter came and went, and after Memory Jar was retroactively added to the banned and restricted list, came another set to change the landscape of Magic. It includes spirited remakes of old and powerful cards, format-defining creatures, along with some of the most explosive combos ever seen, pieces of which were all printed in the very same set. As one of the most powerful blocks in the history of the game comes to a close, you ain't seen nothing yet. Urza's Destiny released on June 7th, 1999. It featured 143 cards, 55 commons, along with 44 rares and uncommons. The pre-release was held a week and a half before, on May 29th, with False Prophet as the free promotional foil given to all players. The set symbol, the Erlenmeyer flask, was meant to symbolize Urza's continued experiments in finding a means to defeat the Phyrexian menace. The set was the first since Arabian Nights to feature only one designer, Mark Rosewater. It was also the first set released under the then controversial 6th edition rules. This rules change was a major shift in how Magic rules worked. It simplified a lot of what Magic was doing, and got rid of things that would feel downright foolish today. For example, tap blocking creatures previously didn't deal combat damage. If you could tap down a blocking creature after it had blocked, it would only take damage, not deal any back. This, as you can imagine, was a bit silly to explain, let alone its impact on gameplay. The stack was also introduced in 6th edition. Before it, all effects were dealt with in batches. Things like damage didn't resolve until all of the spells in a batch were complete. So if you lightning bolted a 3/3 creature in response to a giant growth, that batch of spells happens, and when they're all finished, the creature lives. Other changes included removing the spell type of Interrupt, something that was supposed to be faster than an instant and therefore resolve before the remaining batch of spells did. Along with Mana Source, seen briefly on spells like Mirage's Dark Ritual. In fact, Dark Ritual went through the entire gamut of this change. It began as an interrupt in Alpha, then became a Mana Source in Mirage, and finally an instant in Mercadian Masks after 6th edition rules were implemented. One of the last major changes was losing Summon on the type line of creatures. Instead of Summon Elf, it was Creature Elf. This clean and clear distinction helped streamline the game, along with removing the need for artifact creatures to list them counting as in their rules text. Finally, before we begin in earnest on Urza's Destiny, a card that should have been discussed in Urza's Legacy was Rancor. This powerful and common rarity green enchantment paved the way for green stompy decks to rock the format for its entire lifecycle in Standard, and has seen almost universal cube play. But Urza's Destiny changed everything. One of the first important cards to affect the new Standard format was Masticore. Its overwhelming stats were, at the time, simply better than any previously printed creature in Magic. An artifact creature to have power and toughness equal to its mana cost, along with not one, but 2 abilities, the second of which was key in keeping aggressive strategies down. Anything with 1 toughness was basically unplayable while Masticore roamed, making control decks that much better. Of course, due to its push stats, it was also seen in aggressive strategies alike. While today's creatures surpass its abilities and stats handily, the impact of Masticore was felt for years afterwards, the gold standard for a creature in Magic for some time. What may have been the most broken card in Urza's Destiny was one that was supposed to pay homage to an Ice Age All-Star. Necropotence has shown its power in Terminate Dominance, was playable off a single Dark Ritual, and was able to draw an incredible amount of cards for just a single life payment each. Mark Rosewater originally designed the following card for the new set, Intolerance. With its 3 black mana cost, it mirrored the original Necropotence but was a fixed version by costing twice as much life and putting the card directly into your hand. No need to wait around until end of turn like the original. It harkened back to the Legend's rare Greed, which had never proved to be powerful. Later, development made it stronger, increasing its mana cost, but lowering its life payment to just a single point. In a report from the Urza's Destiny pre-release, many hailed the card as the best in the set. The report also featured quotes from then R&D. This card is on top of R&D's watch list, comments tournament play manager Jeff Donai. We want to give players a chance to use it, adds R&D member and the lead Destiny designer Mark Rosewater. If this card proves to be too powerful, we will do something about it. Yawgmoth's Bargain was not only used as a sideboard option, but fueled its own decks. But just being a powerful card is not enough. It needed an enabler, a way to sneak it into play, and the set provided just that. Academy Rector is an incredibly unique and powerful Magic card, bypassing all mana costs and putting any enchantment directly onto the battlefield, not just your hand. This incredible ability is often an overwhelming advantage that your opponent can't catch up to. With plenty of ways to get her in the graveyard at the time, she was key to putting Yawgmoth's Bargain onto the battlefield as soon as possible. The first deck to truly showcase the power of Yawgmoth's Bargain came from a group of deck builders working at a company called Saber Decision Technologies, a subsidiary of American Airlines. Henceforth, the deck was known as Saber Bargain. Here's how it worked. First, there's the fast mana that was still prevalent in the format. Dark Ritual, Grim Monolith, and Voltaic Key were there to provide a ton of mana quickly. Academy Rector, of course, needs to die in order to do anything. You did this in one of two ways: sacrificing it to Phyrexian Tower, or using Renounce to sacrifice any number of permanents in order to kill Academy Rector and also gain a lot of life to later use with Yawgmoth's Bargain. If you didn't have white mana from your lands, you could play, activate, and sacrifice Tooth of Ramos to get it. And if you were missing a piece of the puzzle, simply play Vampiric Tutor to go and put it on top of your library. After Yawgmoth's Bargain is in play, you would then play Scourge Familiar to turn your cards into mana. Soon you would find Soul Feast, which also debuted in Urza's Destiny, and cast it on your opponent, dealing them 4 damage and gaining you 4 life, which you instantly turned into 4 more cards. You repeated this process until you not only cast the Soul Feast from your deck, but also cast Yawgmoth's Will to cast them again from your graveyard and finish your opponent off. The deck was most famously piloted at the Magic Invitational, won by none other than Johnny Magic, aka John Finkel, who later got to help design his own card featuring his likeness, Shadow Mage Infiltrator, as the first prize for winning the event. Of course, that's not the only successful build featuring Yawgmoth's Bargain. Others, such as those in the top 8 of the 1999 US Nationals, used Replenish, another powerful and rare spell from the same set that can do incredibly absurd things by bypassing the mana cost of the enchantments it returns. Combined with Frantic Search and Attunement to both get enchantments into the graveyard, this incredible combination of spells was often too much for opponents. Powerful filtering spells like Frantic Search and cards like Mystical Tutor and Intuition found your combo pieces, while Delusions of Mediocrity ensured you'd have enough life to finish them off using Seismic Assault. Zvi Mauschwitz also made a top 4 finish that year, but didn't use Replenish. Instead, he focused on Show and Tell, Scroll Rack, Vampiric Tutor, and Turnabout to help fuel a ton of card draw and kill the opponent with a Blaze or another copy of it provided by Yawgmoth's Will. Opalescence was another part of the Replenish decks, immediately making your enchantments creatures, and also printed in Urza's Destiny. While individually the enchantments may not seem like much, it would often put 20 or more damage onto the battlefield, with your opponent having just one turn to come up with an answer. Opalescence is also well known for being a brain teaser amongst judges. Many of the toughest rules questions begin with casting Opalescence with Humility on the battlefield, or vice versa, or what happens when both of them are placed onto the battlefield simultaneously with Replenish. But Urza's Destiny wasn't satisfied with upending the standard format. In the extended format, a new powerhouse deck emerged, Tricks. Tricks was a deck that featured Donate from the new set. The idea of exchanging permanents has been around since Legends, with Juxtapose and Gauntlets of Chaos, and later in Mirage and Tempest with Political Trickery and Legerdemain. But never had a spell been able to simply give your opponents a card. Enter Illusions of Grandeur. This Ice Age rare saw no play until the Donate combo arose to power. You would gain 20 life, and giving it to your opponent meant they would have to pay the cumulative upkeep. When they could no longer pay it, they would lose 20 life, which was almost always enough to kill them outright. The pieces of the deck quickly fell in place. Card draw came in the form of Necropotence and Brainstorm, with Disruption in the form of Duress, Misdirection, and Force of Will. You tutored for the pieces using Vampiric Tutor and Demonic Consultation, and could even deal with a swarming aggro deck with a singleton Firestorm. By the time Grand Prix Philadelphia in 2000 came around, full-on Tricks was in bloom. This upgraded to fast mana courtesy of Dark Ritual and Mana Vault, and cut down on brainstorms for Contagion and Hoodwink. Note that Illusions of Grandeur doesn't have to be destroyed to trigger the life loss, just leave play. This meant that bounce spells like Hoodwink got even more utility as a result. The extended format warped itself around the deck, causing Trey Van Cleve's 3 Deuce deck to win that Philadelphia Grand Prix with a deck featuring a playset of Elvish Lyricist, Disenchant, along with the mana disruption of Wasteland and Dwarven Miner. But Donate wasn't the only card in Urza's Destiny to heavily impact Extended. Phyrexian Negator was an incredibly powerful creature, even by today's standards. Playing it on turn 1 via a Dark Ritual was even better. But it wasn't so much Phyrexian Negator that drove the Suicide Black deck at the time, it was Hatred. A mixture of Channel and Howl from Beyond, this powerful spell was castable via 2 Dark Rituals chained together, or using the mana-boosting powers of Lake of the Dead. The deck featured a host of 2-power creatures to get out early, Sarcomancy and Carnophage. It ran both 2-mana shadow creatures, Dauthi Horror and Dauthi Slayer. The perfect turn 3 win would go like this: Turn 1, Swamp, Duress. Turn 2, Swamp, Shadow Creature. Turn 3, Demonic Consultation for Lake of the Dead or Hatred. Play Lake of the Dead, cast Hatred for 18, and attack. In March 2001, Necropotence, Replenish, and Demonic Consultation were banned from the extended format. The previous September, Necropotence and Demonic Consultation were also banned in Legacy and restricted in Vintage, where they remain to this day. Replenish was unbanned in Legacy in June 2007, alongside Mind Over Matter. Later in November 2001, at Pro Tour New Orleans, Kai Bude took a Necropotence and Demonic Consultation free Tricks build to the top, further cementing that deck's format dominance even without its overpowered black cards. Blue cards of course got plenty of good options in Urza's Destiny, including the cube staple Treachery. Needless to say, a free control magic is incredibly powerful. It is also never to be reprinted as it sits on the reserve list along with others we'll go over later. Opposition created a new deck unto itself, Squirrel Prison. This deck featured Deranged Hermit combined with Opposition to lock your opponent out of the game. Tapping down all of their mana or relevant permanents on their upkeep, you could easily take over the game with this combo alone. Michael Postilnik won the Urza Block Grand Prix in Memphis in September 1999 with this build. Running powerhouses like Masticore and Morphling, it also ran another legend that debuted in Urza's Destiny, Rofellos Llanowar Emissary. A powerhouse green card, Rofellos is arguably one of the most efficient mana producers ever made. Scaling alongside your forest count, he fueled far more than a GP-winning block constructed deck. Urza's Destiny provided a perfect combo with Rofellos in the form of Plow Under. One of the most unfun cards ever printed, Plow Under would ruin your opponent's draws for multiple turns, and often seal a game in your favor as a result. Rofellos, alongside Urza Block All-Star Priest of Titania, was one of the easiest and quickest ways to cast it. This combination later fueled Trinity Green decks after the release of Nemesis, featuring existing favorites of Masticore and Deranged Hermit, alongside the newly printed Tanglewire, Skyshroud Poacher, and Blastoderm. Later, red mana would be added to the deck at Regionals in 2000 via Aaron Forsyth, adding Avalanche Riders and Arc Lightning in a deck called Angry Hermit. Rofellos Llanowar Emissary was banned in Commander in 2014 as his influence on the format simply became too much. But we're not finished with format-defining cards. Metalworker was also in Urza's Destiny, and its impact was seen soon thereafter. Metalworker helped fuel Tinker decks after they lost their fast mana and needed a way to power out Thran Dynamo, Voltaic Key, Grim Monolith, Masticore, and ultimately Tinker for Phyrexian Colossus to crush the opponent. Note that while Phyrexian Colossus needs 8 life to untap it, Voltaic Key solves that problem handily. This culminated in the year 2000 World Championship deck from John Finkel, later made into a special retail release with gold-bordered cards. Metalworker continued its dominance, and in 2003, a full half of the top 8 of the Pro Tour New Orleans extended format deck lists featured the 3-mana 1/2. In September 2004, Metalworker was banned and extended. Also in September 2004, Wizards created the Legacy format, where it was initially banned. This ban lasted until September 2009, when Metalworker was finally unbanned in the Legacy format. Metalworker saw years of vintage play, powering out mud or mono brown artifact decks. While we have no more format-defining cards, there are still plenty of noteworthy designs in the set. Powder Keg was a constructed staple for many years, along with being a cube and casual favorite. Until Ratchet Bomb appeared in Scars of Mirrodin, it remained one of the most powerful artifact-based removal cards ever designed. Covetous Dragon saw play in Wildfire decks, and with so many powerful artifacts in the format, it was easy to keep him around. A 6/5 flying dragon could end games quite quickly. Thieving Magpie was a send-up to Ophidian, a card that many control players loved, except now it flew and dealt damage to boot. Thieving Magpie has seen print 5 times in paper in Urza's Destiny, along with 4 additional printings in 7th through 10th edition, along with a digital copy appearing in Duels of the Planeswalkers. Keldon Champion was another very aggressive option in the set, and another cube favorite. For 4 mana to provide up to 6 damage was an incredible swing, and many have taken it out of their cubes due to the power swings it provides mono-red decks. It is important to note that Urza's Destiny is the last affected by the reserve list, and many very expensive cards are on it. The reserve list is Wizards of the Coast's promise to never reprint the cards in either full or mechanically identical versions. Many of the cards seen in this episode, such as Academy Rector, Donate, Masticore, Metalworker, Phyrexian Negator, Powder Keg, Rofellos Lanimore Emissary, Replenish, and Treachery are never to be reprinted again and will forever be highly sought by collectors. Urza's Destiny is the summation of one of the most powerful blocks ever seen in Magic. The power level of the spells and ultimately many of the creatures was simply off the charts. Such a huge swing in the power pendulum ultimately needs to swing back, and we'll see much of that in the follow-up release, Mercadian Masks. Urza's Destiny cemented the notion that Wizards R&D needed true Magic pros to help the designers craft fun and powerful cards that ultimately wouldn't break the game. The world of fast mana and overpowered spells was certainly an exciting one, but for many of the wrong reasons. This was Magic turned on its head with unparalleled combinations of cards, very easy access to fast mana, and too few foils to popular strategies. But now we travel back, for Urza's block was a prequel to the Wrath cycle. And to begin, we must journey on the Weatherlight, where an immense storyline was just getting started. Thanks for watching.
Did you enjoy this episode? Help me make more over at Patreon. Patrons get to see the show before anyone else, get their name in the credits, and ultimately this show does not exist without it. So head on over to Patreon and I'll see you guys there.